So it's like, I don't know, I always been humble my whole life, you know what I'm saying? Even though I'm rich, I got money now, I don't even move like I'm rich or I got money now. I still feel the same as when I was broke.
Really?
But I just got money,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I want to ask you, whenever you reach a certain amount of success and you feel like you have a really good amount of money, what do you plan on doing with it?
I mean, I got a good amount of money already, but it's like, it's so much goals that I want to reach, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, this shit just the beginning.
We ain't done.
What the fuck is that?
The cube and the match.
Oh my God.
Stop playing.
Oh my God.
Stop playing.
This is crazy as fuck.
Sheesh.
kcisthetown.com. Sleazyworld Go was born January the 17th, 1998 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His first home was in the 2100 block of Horton Avenue in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Joseph Isaac, aka Sleazyworld Go, 25, was raised by his mother and had 6 siblings. A sister, 9 years his senior, 2 older brothers, a year apart after that. Then 81 Hundo, the 26-year-old rapper and closest brother, Sleazy calls his twin, and 2 younger brothers that came around much later in life. While growing up in Grand Rapids, Sleazy and his siblings rode their bicycles through the hood, getting into all kind of bad-ish, like fights and arguments. They also partied a lot. Sleazy's house was the party house. They had a trampoline and everything that kids wanted to get into. At a young age, Sleazy's mother and grandmother drilled into his head that you gotta move different with 12. Growing up in school, a lot of black teachers would tell us in class that statistically speaking, something like 4 out of 6 of y'all gonna end up in jail or dead. I remember telling myself, I ain't gonna be one of them ones, and I was still one of them ones, he said. Sleazy ended up going to jail anyways. And that's what it is. That's how it's set up. And that's what we're up against, already when we're young. Despite hearing his mother's old school R&B jams around the house, Sleazy latched on to his older brother's music collection. Kanye West, Boozy Badass, T.I., and Gucci Mane. Then when Sleazy got older, Tupac Shakur, plus Chicago artists like the late L.A. Capone and G Herbo, one of his longtime favorites. Sleazy's father used to come through, but he wasn't around a lot. His father was the one to put him onto music. He used to do music, so growing up, he'd have Sleazy and his brother rap battle against each other. That was Sleazy's first time ever trying to rap or put bars together. After that battle, one of his big brothers brought studio equipment around them to mess around in ish. Sleazy never took it seriously. He didn't want to be an artist or anything like that. He really wanted to hoop. He was good. Wasn't the best. Not as good as he is at rapping now though.
Now, getting into your background, what were some things that you was into outside of music?
Basketball. I wanted to be a hooper. I didn't want to be no artist.
Really?
Yeah.
Was you playing like throughout high school and all of that?
Hell no. I was just playing in the streets for real.
Rapping was never Sleazy's goal. However, his family planted the seed. By 10, Sleazy recorded his first rhymes with his mother and brother. We had a microphone and a little laptop, and we recorded the song in the bathroom of the shelter. Sleazy remembers. We really didn't realize the situation we was in. His mom eventually moved the family to Kansas City, Missouri, a bigger city he reps just as hard as Grand Rapids now. But back then, 13-year-old Sleazy went kicking and screaming. The homesick teen wasn't receptive to the new regional sounds that would eventually shape his rhyming style once he decided to take his rap talent seriously as an adult. For a year, he'd sneak back up to Michigan until 12 intervened. I was out past curfew, and the police ended up pulling me over, he admits, recalling a 3-month stay in juvie. They were like, "You can't come back to Grand Rapids. If you do, you're gonna get locked up." Ultimately, that prophecy came to pass years later. According to the Michigan Department of Corrections, the rapper pleaded guilty to armed robbery after a 2015 incident. In 2016, Sleazy was sentenced to 4 years in prison. 2017 is when Sleazy began to take things seriously. He wanted to find and create his sound and figure out what type of artist he was. But it wasn't until a few years ago that he actually started making songs and getting in the studio. Sleazy used to make music just off a cappella, no beat. While incarcerated, Sleazy decided to take music seriously, practicing and building up his confidence. He was released on parole in September of 2019 before 19 shut down the world. Once freed, Sleazy worked a factory job. He was dealing with this female for about 4 months, but she ended up cheating on him. After the breakup, he started to really focus on music. When he was in the relationship, he focused on her. It was all about her. He didn't have time for music. When that happened, Sleazy was in a bad space. So he went hard on this music-ish. It gave him motivation. It was 2020 when he dropped his first video. 3 months into 2020, they broke up right before his birthday on January the 17th. A couple of months after that, he dropped Sliding, and it went crazy in the city. Sleazyworld Go thought his fans would call him Go, but they call him Sleazy. I didn't think of myself being named that. See, Sleazy can mean a lot of things. It's a style, a sound, a personality, an attitude. It's crazy. I've been around a lot of people who have dreams of being a rapper, dreams of making it big with a song. And I did that with my first song. It's a blessing. It's meant to be, Sleazy said. In the moment, I didn't see what God's plan was. Sleazy reflects on his music being released during a global crisis. People were in the house, on their phones, so people were discovering me and having time to actually sit down and listen to me. He tells, the pandemic prepared fans for him. Jail prepared him for them. Then came projects, Big Sleaze, led by Pass Me the Glock and The Sleazy Way. That same year, followed by heavy hitters like Baghdad Flow and Let Me Talk My Ish into 2021. His Thug You and Sleazy projects also arrived that year. Sleazy Flow arrived October 2021, with Sleazy Flow gaining more momentum on social media in early 2022. Sleazyworld Go signed to Island Records in March. However, it was What They Gon' Do to Me, a brazen song the artist dropped a month prior that hooked the label. Sleazy's breakthrough track prompted a wave of his peers like NLE Choppa and Young and Ace to drop their own Sleazy Flow freestyles. The train hasn't stopped moving since. In May 2022, Lil Baby hopped on the Sleazy Flow remix. A month later, Sleazy got Offset for the collab Step 1. The burgeoning artist talent and drive to succeed are encapsulated in Where the Shooters Be, his star-studded funk music mixtape, released November 2022. Lil Baby, Offset, and G Herbo are among the rappers featured. Sleazyworld Go is funking with Kansas City rapper Daduworld, because Daduworld got on social media and said Sleazy was cap. The two rappers have been sneak dissing each other ever since. Sleazy released his hit single, Robbers and Villains, January 2023, and he plans to release more funk music throughout the year. I'm looking at the world, and I'm bringing them to me, he shares. I'm stealing everybody from the sound and the wave that was before me. It's a new wave.
We going to the top this year, man. We breaking this new sound as a whole. You feel me? So it's like, yeah, that's what's coming from me. I want to break a lot of artists too out of these cities, Grand Rapids, Kansas City. So it's like, got my label starting out too. So, yeah.
Now, with your label, you already got the name and stuff for it, huh?
Yeah, Sleazyworld, easy to change right here.
All facts. Sleazyworld Go is on the fast track to something bigger than he ever imagined. The rapper says he's dreaming big enough so the kids in the cities he's from can eventually see themselves in his shoes. They used to tell me that 90% of y'all is either gonna be in jail or dead. Where's the hope in that? Sleazy speaks brightly, despite the grim stats. He's seen those peaks and valleys firsthand. Coming from these cities where nobody makes it out when it comes to being a rap artist, you ain't got nobody to look up to. So me, being one of the first ones, that's a blessing right there, he concludes. I'm giving folks a reason to believe, because a lot of people where I'm from don't feel like they deserve anything. They haven't seen it happen, so they don't believe. That's what a lot of people feel like. If you're from Atlanta or whatever, you see artists blow up every week. Growing up in that and coming from there, you believe you can do it because you've seen it so many times, Sleazy said. He's seen it with his own 2 eyes. He didn't believe he could make it out of a small town until he really made it. Okay, Sleazyworld Go could be in some serious trouble. He is currently under investigation by the ATF. 12 recently applied for a search warrant to collect DNA from the 25-year-old for comparison to evidence in an ongoing federal investigation. Sleazyworld Go stands accused of being a felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition, as well as an unregistered machine gun. The Kansas City native, who was convicted of armed robbery in 2016 and is allegedly affiliated with the Brotherland Gang, BLG, has been under surveillance for months following his 2019 release from prison. In July 2022, the ATF received an anonymous tip from someone who had 2 photographs of the rapper holding a gun. Consequently, investigators began staking out Sleazy's residence using pole cameras and other devices. In October 2022, federal search warrants were executed on his Facebook and Instagram accounts. The content reviewed includes multiple drug transactions, both buying and selling, the purchase and possession of multiple firearms, and the purchase and possession of multiple fully automatic machine gun conversion devices. The glitches. Multiple photos and videos also show him in possession of up to 21 firearms at a time. Sleazy and a friend were also followed by investigators as they drove from Kansas City, Missouri to Kansas City, Kansas, and back to the rapper's residence. Both were observed handling weapons. Due to Sleazy's open possession of firearms, despite his status as a convicted felon, the presence of several armed gang members from the Sleazyworld Brotherland gangs, and the knowledge known to the ATF personnel that members of the gangs are associated with gun violence, drug sales, and illegally modified fully automatic firearms. Investigators determined enforcement action was appropriate. ATF personnel contacted tactical officers of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department Special Operations Unit. Upon arrival of tactical officers from the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, Joseph Isaac, aka Sleazyworld Go, and his associates fled on foot inside the townhome residence in an effort to elude detention by law enforcement. Sleazy refused to let the officers search his vehicle for weapons, so they wound up breaking a window to gain access. Once inside, they discovered multiple firearms, including an AK-47 style rifle, 2 AK-47 style Draco pistols, and a black Glock pistol with a loaded extended magazine and a Glock switch. Multiple rounds of various ammunition were found as well. The case is currently being reviewed by the courts of Western District, Missouri. Long live Kansas City legends. I'm out of here.